Hi guys, and I've got something special for you today. This is the AüR Audio Aurora. This is the latest IEM from AüR Audio, and those of you that follow me know that I've always been a big fan of AüR Audio from its early days. I was one of the first, if not the first person to talk very favorably about the IEMs, namely the Neon Pro. Well, actually, at first it was the Neon, then the Neon Pro, then later on the AüR, then the Alita, and then there's been a couple of prototypes that I've also mentioned just briefly. But it's a brand that I've always admired. They know what they're doing. It's a small boutique business, but they know what they're doing. They have a true passion for audio, and that passion is reflected in their products. Very high quality of build, very high quality of making sure that all the components are selected criteriously to match the performance requirements that they have, and a very special attention paid as well to quality control. So it's a brand that does things, let's say, the way that they should be done by everybody. Anyway, this is the Aurora, and the Aurora is what? The Aurora is basically an IEM which follows a little bit of what is now become the trend over the last couple of months, which is a dual DD setup in not an isobaric manner, but more of a compound or quasi-isobaric setup, which basically means that two drivers are firing into a center chamber, which then exits the IEM through the nozzle. Excuse me. And then that's backed up by 4 BAs for the mids from AüR Audio and 2 BA for the highs by Knowles. All of the drivers have had some customization, although the base is that they are not using nothing fancy in terms of the DD drivers are not using no fancy CNT, no carbon nanotube or diamond-like carbon or LCP diaphragms. It's a simple diaphragm of a high quality, but it's a simple diaphragm. Good magnetic system N52, which is basically become like the norm, and then the BAs are from AüR Audio. Let's say the different thing that they have is that they are basically dual BAs for the mids in one. So instead of having 4 separate BAs, they've joined in pairs. So the customization there has been that, and the same thing applies to then the treble BAs. The shell is a 3D printed shell, this is, again, has become a trend in the attempt to not only make sure that there's a higher consistency in the build quality, a higher rate of no faults, of no issues with the build, but also ultimately this does translate to I wouldn't say really much a very big cost saving, but yes, there is cost saving because you are more efficient. So in the time that it would take maybe to produce one IEM, you can perhaps make 3 now. Obviously, all the IEMs are all handmade, which is the case with all IEMs anyway. They're all handmade, especially when you start talking about multiple driver units. They all have to be hand assembled. So in terms of the build quality and the attention to detail, there's nothing really that we can point as a negative aspect. The fit is flawless. It's a shell which has a kind of a normal design in terms of its shape, but it's got a very nice ergonomic feel to it, very much like the Neon Pro and the AüR. Although the AüR was a little bit on the bigger side, AüR actually is bigger than the Aurora, although it actually only has one single DD, but the same 6 BAs. So ergonomically it fits beautifully. I had no issues with it fitting my ears. And yeah, I mean, that's I guess what I basically can say. I'm using my trusted KB Euro 7 tips. I tried a couple of tips, but these were the tips that actually performed the best. In terms of the cable, it's a Jazeer 41T cable. And the reason why it's this cable, it's because it is a very good cable. I was actually supplied, or actually, rather, let me rephrase that. My friend Carlos, he actually sent me the Aurora with a very nice cable. I forget now the name. Let me see here. It says no, it doesn't say it. What does it say there? I can't really read that. Pentacon? No. Anyway, it's a very nice cable. But in my opinion, this cable actually doesn't bring out the best that the Aurora has to offer. This cable, yes, it does bring a little bit of extra warmness to the sound, and fills up the bass a little bit more. But ultimately, I don't feel that this is the ideal cable to really make the Aurora shine and show its full potential. So that's why I opted for the Jazeera 41T, and besides the Jazeera 41T, I also used the Penon vocal cable. Vocal cable, sorry, not vocal, vocal cable. I used a couple of cables from XINHS, a graphene one. I tried a few cables. Trust me, when I say that I tried a few cables. I didn't want to in any way not give the Aurora its deserved chance to shine at its full potential. All right. That's it basically for the physical aspect of things. You might be asking, oh my god, so what is over here? Well, let me just say first of all that I did a lot of testing with the Runabout 2, so the RA2 BFE with the Prime deck from Venture Electronics. Did a lot of listening as well with the NX7, with the Cayenne RU7 and the M15. And also some listening with the topping A50S connected up with the Prime deck. And one thing that I will say straight away is, and this applies to a lot of these IEMs, the Aurora is, in my opinion, very much source sensitive. So depending on what you hook up to it, it will sound better or worse. With the 2RA, it sounded absolutely amazing. I have to say that it truly surprised me. It really opened up, and again, I think this all has to do with the impedance of the driver, or the drivers inside the actual IEM, with the output impedance of the actual amplifier, and that interaction definitely does play a role in letting an IEM show its performance better or worse. So with that, it was absolutely unbelievable. With the NX7 connected with through the RU7 from Cayenne or the M15, again flawless. Slightly better on the M15, and you'll understand what I mean by slightly better in a second. With the topping, again good, but with the topping it sounded a little bit too sterile, a little bit too cold. All right, so there is definitely a change in the tonality, in the way that the overall warmth of the IEM is. Going into, before I actually start talking about the sound, let me just introduce the rest of the IEMs that are here. Well, I've got SoundRhyme SR7, okay, that is a 1+6, priced at $369. Next to that, I've got the Moondrop Blessing3, a 2DD, also in the same kind of setup as the Aurora, so the drivers face each other, firing into a center chamber that then exits. The difference is that there it's two 10mm drivers, here it's two 7.5mm drivers, so more surface area over there. So 2 + 4, and the price is $329. Next to that is, obviously it had to be the AüR, which was priced at $380 before it was discontinued. And next to that, the Studio4 from Softears, 4BA, priced at $449. You'll understand a little bit more in detail why I've got so many IEMs and everything. In the second row here, I've got those there are hybrid, and a full BA. In the second row here, I've got 3 tribrids. The Hisenor Mega5EST MK2. This is $549 for the 7th anniversary version, and it's a 1+2+2. Next to that, the DTE 500 from SoundRhyme. This is $459, 1+2+2 as well. And next to that, one of the better IEMs from Penon overall. Well, they've got really great IEMs, but this is one of the better ones in my opinion, which is the 10th anniversary, which is again a dual DD setup, this time using 2 6mm, and instead of them being facing each other, they actually are next to each other, side by side, firing into a chamber which then exits, excuse me, and then that's backed up by 2 BAs and 2 STs. And then in this front row, I've got full BA, hybrid, Dunu SA6MK2. This is priced at $549. Next to that, a newcomer, the EPZ 530, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite IEMs, $449, and this is a 5BA. Next to that, we had to have it here as well, the Aful Performer 8, which is a 1+7, $369. And then finally the Mangird Zen Stop, which is a 1+8, and it's $530. The price of the Aurora is $575. Okay, so by saying that, you can already see why these IEMs are so many and so varied, because a lot of them, they are here because they fall within the same price. All right. So now talking about the sound then of the Aurora, and then doing a small comparison. The sound of the Aurora focuses on being a neutral, basically a neutral sound with good extension on either end. So both the low end with a focus on the sub bass is nicely extended, and ample, let's put it that way, ample or sufficient upper mids and treble. It's a very smooth sound all around, from the lowest to the highest of the frequencies. The emphasis here that has been given is obviously on the mids. The mids are the star of the show. They are the ones that really shine. And although then the in my opinion, the upper mids and treble, they are slightly not, I wouldn't say recessed, but slightly less energetic as compared to the mids and as compared to the lows, the low frequency, and that makes the sound be a sound which, although super detailed, super clean, vocals come across faultless, instruments as well faultless. It is a sound which has a warmer kind of a tonality. Touching up now straight away on that issue of the timbre and the tonality. In the Aurora, the timbre and tonality is, for me at least, faultless. It's very, very nice. Everything sounds very correct. You can see that an effort was made here for the IEM to be very audiophile correct. Let's put it that way. Okay. While some other IEMs are tuned to be fun and engaging, and that this opens up a can of worms, because what is audiophile? Fine, we can go for the Wikipedia interpretation of what audiophile is, and consider audiophile being what a set group of people have established as the parameters that something should have in order to be considered to be sounding good or faithful to its original source, but personally, I like to look more on the perspective of does it sound good, and is it fun? Is it engaging? That's what I usually look for in an IEM. And if I have to then consider one of the technicalities or one of those parameters that can maybe be used as the basis for considering or classifying an audiophile style sound, timbre and tonality is very important. Okay. Continuing then a little bit more with the sound and how it sounds. The bass, very well executed. It's clean, it's detailed, it's got plenty of lower end extension. It's not by any means a bass monster. No, it is. It's got plenty of extension down low. There's a tonality associated with the bass which just makes everything very lush sounding. Okay, the transition from the bass into the mid bass is also faultless. The mid bass has got ample impact, ample slam, to make things engaging. Okay, but as I said before, it is a bass which is more sub bass focused. All right, which there's nothing. I mean, it's the way it's been done. That by being more sub bass focused, you always feel that the bass is kind of more of a complement to the rest of the spectrum, and it isn't emphasized. Although, as I said, it's got ample slam when needed. Again, I think it's no real need for me to say this, but I'll repeat it anyway. All of my opinions obviously are based on the genre of music that I prefer to listen, and I'll post a link on the end of the review so you guys can see what it is that I like listening. And obviously that will change from user to user. If you're a person that perhaps just likes listening to rock, I don't think the Aurora will be the ideal. The Aurora, from what I was able to experience, is an IEM that shines when we're talking about vocals, male and female. It's an IEM that shines when we're talking about acoustic music, instruments, and above all, it's an IEM that shines with things which are not too busy. The moment the track starts getting too busy, it kind of falls apart and starts losing its composure. Okay, but further a little bit more on that in a few minutes. The mid-range, as I was about to start saying, clean, detailed, very correct sounding, both in terms of timbre, tonality, male, female vocals. It's been tuned in a manner for it not to be fatiguing, so it's not overly energetic. It's just very, very well balanced out with the bass. The upper mids is where personally I would have liked just a little bit. I'm talking 2 dBs more energy, and the treble as well, a little bit more energy. For what? To give it a higher or a bigger sense of resolution, to give it to be able to, although there is those twinklies and those sparklies, but to give it a little bit more of those twinklies and sparklies, and I don't think that by doing that it would in any way become less audiophile or become colored or anything of the sort. No. An analogy that I can make of the Aurora, for those of you that have the Neon Pro and have the Alita, is that if the AüR, was a DD version, because it has a DD and then the BAs of the Neon Pro, and the Neon Pro is known for being a high energy all BA set with great bass, great mids, great highs, but everything is very high energy. Everything is, super engaging but very, very well executed and never loses its composure with great technicalities. Okay, especially in terms of the sound stage. And if the AüR was kind of that philosophy of tuning, on the opposite end we had the Alita, which was all about being smooth, relaxed, and everything done very correctly. And that's what the Aurora is. The Aurora is an IEM where everything is done very correctly, very, very smoothly, with no rush, no nothing. Okay. Treble. As I said before, and I just mentioned as well, it's got good extension. It's got good details. It can do pretty decent and acceptable detail retrieval, but it needed, in my opinion, a little bit more. You want to notice a little bit more those cymbals. At least I want. I want to notice a little bit more wind instruments. Make them feel more like they are there, present. And I honestly feel that just a 2 dB here or there would have been enough to balance things out, because the bass, although not overly energetic, although not overpowering, it is very present. It is very much, it makes itself known in a very classy manner that it's there. Okay, and the mids keep up with it, no problem, but the upper mids and treble, in my opinion, don't. All right. And that, ultimately, and this goes back to something which I usually say when we're talking about an IEM of $20 or $50 or $100 even, our expectations are based on the price. We cannot start saying, oh, I want a $20 IEM to have the same technicalities as a $1,000 IEM. That's not going to happen. There are the occasional freaks which do things way above their price point. An IEM that jumps to mind straight away is the SIM-Got, the EA500. That's one IEM, for example. But when we start talking $500, $700, $900, $1,000, those expectations and the margin of tolerance, in my opinion at least, becomes smaller. Yes, I expect more because I'm paying more money. So if the soundstage is fine, I will, or if the imaging is fine, or whatever technicality is good, I'm going to have very much present the value that is associated with that IEM. For $1,000, I want an IEM that has amazing technicalities, and if those technicalities are just suffice, that doesn't really work very well in its favor. In terms of the technical side of things, the sound stage and the imaging and all of that, I found them adequate, but not what I ideally would like. Okay, it's not that it the timbre and the tonality, yes, that's fine. The sound stage, it's got good depth, but it needed more width, more space. Okay. It's a little bit on the smaller side, the soundstage. Imaging is for the most part accurate, and it can pan nicely left, right, and you can pick things out quite nicely. But again, I find the imaging to be just adequate for what it is. It doesn't impress me. It did not surprise me in any way. Okay. Compare them to what we have here. What can I say? Well, I'm going to get the best ones out of the way straight away. And in my opinion, these are IEMs which overall are superior to the Aurora. The Aurora is a very nice IEM, yes, but I feel that at the price that it is, it has to deal with these IEMs I'm going to mention now, and it doesn't beat them. It doesn't. First one is the Dunu SA6, the Mark II. I even listened to it on the bass setting, the lowest bass setting, and even in the lowest bass setting, and considering still that it's a BA bass, so it's not even a DD, the Dunu more than was able to keep up with the Aurora. Not only keep up, but the balance between the bass, the mids, and the highs, it's faultless. The extension up top, I mean, it's this kind of resolution that I would have liked. There's one other IEM that unfortunately was loaned to me. I don't have it here, which would also be here in this group if I had it with me, which would be the 7th Acoustic Supernova. Yes, fair enough. The 7th Acoustic is already in the $650 price range, while the Dunu, as I mentioned earlier, you can get it for like $539, which is even cheaper than the Aurora. But that IEM also has the same qualities very much of the Dunu, and it just, there's no, in my opinion, in my honest opinion, with my music and with there's no comparison. There are things that yes, the Aurora will occasionally do very nice and give it a little bit of run off for its money to the Dunu, but overall the Dunu is a superior IEM. The next one is the EPZ, the 530, and this is kind of a hidden gem. Again, same situation in terms of upper mids and treble. It just surpasses the Aurora, okay, and doesn't do it by making itself then aggressive or then becoming unpolished. No, if there's one thing that will impress all of you that do have the chance to listen to the EPZ, is the timbre and the tonality. The timbre and tonality of the EPZ of the 530 is unbelievable. Really, really. I mean, it's on the level of the Dunu SA6, and I think that's one of the nicest characteristics of the Dunu SA6. It's on the level there, okay? And this is $449, so it's $170 cheaper, $120 cheaper than the Aurora. Next to that is an IEM from a brand that has starting to make a reputation for being giant killers and for being a brand that makes IEMs that kind of cause havoc. And in this particular case here, we have the Performer 8. No real need for me to get into too much about it, but the Performer 8 as well, the same situation as the previous two. Detail overall, okay, and when you look at the graphs just now, you'll see what I mean. I mean, it graphs almost identical to this, and you listen to it and it's completely different, okay. It is way more detailed, way more resolving, better soundstage. It is the only area where the Performer 8 loses slightly to the Aurora is in the bass department, all right? And it's not even in the slam, it's in the extension, reel down, rumble, okay? And then finally the Mangird, the top. Again, very similar graph to the Performer and to the Aurora, but with a really insanely good bass in my opinion. So some of you might actually think the bass is a little bit too much. I personally don't think, but you know, it's a beautifully tuned IEM, and it just sounds absolutely amazing. There's no area, if with the Performer 8 the Aurora would, as I just mentioned, could perhaps have a nicer amount of low end grunt or bass, which is with the top. There's no comparison possible. Okay, so these four are out of the way. Then actually let me put them over here so it's a little bit easier for us to talk and not have so much stuff in front of us. All right. This brings us then to the second row of IEMs, all right? And this second row of IEMs, as I mentioned, is the Mega5EST MK2, the DT500, and the Penon. Funny enough, they all are tribrids. And this is $549, if I'm mistaken. No, $549. The DT500 is $459, and this is $499. So IEMs which are basically just around the price of the Aurora. How do then they compare, or where are they better than the Aurora or worse than the Aurora? Well, the two that are the smoothest sounding, or rather have the more familiar curve to the Aurora, are these two. It's a more neutral with a slight warm bass and so on, but very neutral. While the Penon 10th anniversary is a little bit different. It's more high energy. So, if the previous four that I initially talked about are all IEMs which have a very neutralish kind of a tune, these ones here, some do, some don't. So it's not going to be entirely fair for me to say that this is better than the Penon or the Penon is better than this, because their bass tuning premise is different. Which of the two is the more fun? Penon, without question. Which of the two is the more detailed in the upper mids and treble? Penon. Which of the two will have the more audiophile execution of bass? The Aurora. Which of the two will have the best mids? They both have crazy good mids. Okay, so it's between these two. It will come down to what is your musical preference and what are you aiming for, what you want. All right. This leaves us with the Hisenior and with the DT500. Both of them, not really both of them, but both of them have a very well executed mids. However, when you listen to them, okay, the Mega5 comes across as having a bass which is maybe a little bit more recessed because of the way that the bass has been done. The bass here has been done very much on the kind of the same philosophy as on the Mangird top. So loads of low end grunt, ample, more than sufficient slam. Mids a little bit recessed, kind of like in the Aurora. In the Aurora, that recession happens more in the upper mids and treble, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. But then it makes up for it in the upper treble and in the upper mids and treble by having crazy extension, and it's all down to the EST. So I would say that these two, this one basically is the same situation, although this one is a little bit more thinner sounding. The bass is not as strong. I would say that between these two and the Aurora, they are very equal here. There's not much, okay, that really differentiates them. It's just that these two are more detailed up top than this one. That's the basic difference here. And, so it's a decision that will come down to, you want Tribrid, at a really good price, okay? I mean, $459 for the DT500, that's $120 less than the Aurora, and you're getting a Tribrid. That's a pretty good deal in my books, and even the Mega5EST Mark II, now that they've dropped the price, considering the accessories that it brings, no comparison. That's another area where I would like to see AUR improve. I know they are now selling cables as an option that you can buy from them. Personally, and you guys that follow me know what my opinion is about cables. It's a very gray area. There are cables that will definitely improve the performance of an IEM, no doubt about that. But it has basically down to do with what is their electrical characteristics and how those interact with the electrical characteristics of the IEM, which means that it doesn't. I might have a cable which measures very nicely, and I hook it up to, let's say, the Aurora, and it's fantastic. It really works on the Aurora, okay. And then I take that same cable and I hook it up to the Mega5EST, and it doesn't do anything for it, okay. So I would say that, as I mentioned, that over here it's, you choose. Over here, if you are looking for a more audiophile kind of sound, then okay, I would say go for the Aurora. If you want a sound which is fun, engaging, and highly detailed up top with great technicalities, 10th anniversary, all the way. If you ask me which one I would choose, I think I would pend more times towards the 10th anniversary because of the engaging nature of the sound, okay? And then finally up top there, we have I wouldn't say the ones that don't bug the Aurora's dominance as much, or don't affect the Aurora as much, because the truth is they do have merits. I mean, I'll start here with the AUR. The one thing that I think still that the AUR does better, and maybe it's down to the fact that it has 2 BAs for the mids and 4 for the treble, while that is the opposite way around. It's got 4 for the mid bass, for the mid range, and 2 for the treble use. The AUR does definitely come across as being a little bit more open sounding, a little bit more 3D-ness in the sound stage. Definitely that comes across, and it also sounds a little bit more alive, a little bit more engaging, okay, as compared to the more relaxed nature of the Aurora. Where the Aurora definitely does show superiority to the AUR is in the timbre, the tonality, in the bass texture, the way all of that is done. Now, you may ask me, does that mean that it is justifiable, the $200 price increase? Again, it will be very much dependent on what you like listening to. If you like rock, in my opinion, the AUR is the better option, without a question. If rock is your thing, is what gets you going, this is the better option. If it is a more classical kind of style music, then the Aurora. That's I guess that's the simplest way in which I can break things down. All right. As compared to the Studio 4, again, another IEM that when I show you the graph, you'll be very surprised at how similar they are. I actually personally feel that the Studio 4, with regards to mids and highs, is superior. Okay, there's no comparison in my opinion. However, music isn't just mids and highs; it's also bass. And in the bass, however good the bass is on the Studio 4, considering again it's an all-BA set, it's no match for the bass of the Aurora. The Aurora has got a better bass overall, more engaging, more fun, more full, more correct tonally, more of it. So bass-wise, this ultimately here, because of the bass that it has, helps make everything come out, more times in front of the Studio 4. So yes, I would say that this is the more sensible choice, even though there is a price difference of $130 roughly, if I'm not mistaken. This would be the wiser choice, as compared then to, let's say, the SR7. The SR7 again is very much along the lines of the Penon, the 10th anniversary. They have a signature which is a little bit too different to actually be fair to be comparing them. The more fun and engaging one with the more slam, definitely the SR7. Okay, let's keep things simple. Yeah, the one that's going to be more correct, Aurora. And then finally, the Blessing3, which was released already earlier this year, 2 plus 4, sporting a very similar setup to the Aurora, just less BAs. And I myself was also one of the people that said that I found the bass a little bit underwhelming, considering it's two 10mm drivers. You would expect it to have, I'm not going to say tremendous amounts of bass, but a good amount of bass. And well, that will eventually come when they release the dusk version of this. And I even said in my review that compared to the original Blessing, because this is very much like the Blessing, I wouldn't consider it to be a solid upgrade. All right, but however, having said that, there is one thing that I will give the Blessing3, which is the original Aurora, the original Blessing, which you can still buy. It's $229. The dusk is $319, and this is $329, which means that they have made a new shell with perfect finish, Moondrop style. Another driver. They've made everything. They've done everything, and they've offered this at roughly $40 more. And that's where I think one of the faults of the Aurora lies. If the Aurora had been priced at a value which is more similar to the value of its older brother, the AüR, so instead of, the AüR was $380 roughly, they could have priced this at around like 400, 410, 420. Okay, I feel that this, if it is selling well and it is being quite well accepted and so on, this would make it a different beast, and my opinion about it overall would be different because it would be more price competitive. Yes, it sounds good, and yes, it does not keep up in terms of sound with that first group of IEMs that I mentioned, but for the price, it definitely doesn't even keep up. However, if this was priced $150 less, then I would have maybe said, okay, it might not have the sound that those four have, but at the value that it offers, it's something worth considering. For the same amount of money, Dunu SA6 any day. Performer, the Performer 8 in terms of value for money is tremendous. But SA6 Mark II, EPZ, Mangird top for less money, with around the same money but slightly less than the Aurora, no-brainer choices, no-brainer. And the Performer 8, like I said, for $369. Let's not even get there. So the Blessing, what happens there? What is the issue then with the Blessing with regards to the Aurora? When you see the graph, you will see that they are basically identical. The issue here is that they've given too much energy to the mids and upper mids, and that makes the sound a little bit sterile, makes the sound a little bit cold. However, and I actually tried this, if I EQ the mids and the highs just slightly down, just to make it a little bit more balanced out, okay, because there's a true emphasis here on the mids, upper mids, and treble, the Blessing3 is tremendous. Okay, but I'm assuming that you're not going to EQ. I'm assuming that you're going to listen to it as it is without no EQ, just changing the tips and the cable. And in that aspect, purely in terms of sound, the Aurora does slightly edge out the Blessing, but it's slight. the Blessing in terms of mids and upper mids and highs is, in my opinion, superior, but that superiority is slightly taken over by the extra quantity of very high quality bass that we get in the Aurora. All right. So yeah, I'm not gonna say this is a loss for the Moondrop. No, it's just that it's an IEM which is significantly cheaper, and considering that, then something that you could think about purchasing. And that's it, guys. I mean, I've mentioned all of them. I mentioned that first group of IEMs, which I believe are superior IEMs throughout. The Tribrids here, and then these cheaper models. Well, not cheaper models. They are cheaper anyway, but you understand. And this last group of IEMs, they are again either too different in their tuning. In the case of the SR7, which makes it not fair to compare, or then in the case of the Studio4 and the Moondrop. I mean, mids and treble are fantastic, better than the Aurora without question. It's just the balance that's been achieved there, that over here you don't have enough bass, but it kind of you can get away with it sometimes. Over there on the Blessing3, you definitely don't have a lot of bass, and it loses out more times than it actually wins. And that's it, guys. I mean, I've basically mentioned everything. I'm just going to show you another graphs and we'll wrap it up. All right. Hey guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the Aür Audio Aurora. This is the Aurora that I have with me measured using the KB Auro 7 tip, and as you can see, everything is very smooth. Everything sits within a window of roughly 74 to 81 of 7 dBs, more or less, give or take. An emphasis on the sub bass, as you can clearly notice. By 200 Hz it's flat, and then a very mild, slow, progressive pin again, peaking at 3, and then a drop again. And this drop, as compared to what you're getting from behind here, is, it does confer the Aurora a nice smoothness, a nice relaxed feeling, but it makes it also, for me at least, not have the amount of detail that I would have liked to have had. Anyway, let's start comparing it here with the other IEMs. The first comparison that I will make is with the AüR, with the original AüR, so you guys can get a perception. I've normalized everything at around 500 Hz, by the way. And although graphically you see that the AüR has got more bass and more mid bass, when you listen to it, it's not really like that. What you do notice, yes, is that the AüR has got a little bit more in this area here between 1 and 2.5K, which kind of opens up a little bit more the vocals, okay, makes them a little bit more forward, but that doesn't mean that they are necessarily better, because overall the vocals on the Aurora are more polished. There's a better polish, a better finish. However, and even though again it looks very similar, that energy there in the mids does allow for the upper mids and treble to sound a little bit more open, a little bit more detailed as compared to the Aurora. Again, still saying all of this, the Aurora is a better IEM. The only issue, in my opinion, is that the price increase was too much. It should have been an IEM priced at around 400, and I mean, even the AüR, if we have to be honest about it, even the AüR was slightly overpriced. The AüR was not $180 better than Performer 5 from Aful, for example, and I said that quite openly. The Performer 5 is a fantastic IEM, and it didn't get trampled or destroyed by the AüR. No, it had its issues like the AüR had, but the Performer 5 kept up, and in this case, again, the same situation. Anyway, that's the AüR out of the way. The next one that I'm going to show you is the Studio4, and as I just mentioned, the Studio4, I mean, you want a graph which is similar. This is going to be hard to find a similar graph. It's almost spot on the same thing. Yes, you do notice obviously that it's DD bass versus BA bass. The bass is not the same, although graphically it looks like it. But in terms of the mids and the upper mids and the extension, the Studio 4 is faultless and, in my opinion, superior. Also, truth be told, that you do notice that that the mids, upper mids and treble are better because the bass, although it looks like it's the same thing, it is not present in the same kind of fashion. All right, it's not the same kind of energy. The next one I'm going to show you is the Blessing3, and again another situation where it doesn't get closer than this in terms of philosophy of graph or anything. It's almost identical. The bass, if you bring this down, the upper mids and treble slightly, the bass does come alive tremendously, and it is a bass which is, well, it is already a very high quality bass. It's just the quantity of bass which doesn't keep up with the upper mids and treble. And if you do bring it down slightly, like I did with the EQ, the bass on the Blessing3 is amazing. It is really, really good. It's a very, very high quality bass, and then because the energy levels now become similar, it comes alive. It shows itself more prominent, and it's superior to the bass of the Aurora. It is. I mean, however good the bass of the Aurora is, if you do that little EQing there, okay. Now, leaving it in stock format, no. The Aurora is a superior IEM. It just doesn't have is the amount of detail in the upper mids and treble that the Blessing3 has. And again, it's a situation where that will give it a lot of detail, a lot of twinklies and sparklies, but maybe it can become fatiguing for some. While fatigue is something that you will definitely never suffer of in the Aurora. Okay, so that's the Blessing out of the way. The next one, number 11, is the Mangird. Once again, a very similar kind of style of graph. The bass, no comparison, and then the way that bass marries with the mids, the upper mids and the treble. I mean, it's the Mangird Top is a very, very good sounding IEM, and when you consider it costs $530, honestly, $530 versus $575 of the Aurora. I don't want to sound mean, but Mangird is the one I would choose, definitely. Next one, number 12. This is the SoundRhyme, the SR7. In one of the settings of the switches. As you can see, yes, it's got some similarities, but it's already a lot more different and so on. It's like I said, it's very mid-bass present, more than what the graph here shows, and there's a lot of upper mid and treble energy as well, more than what the graph shows, and that just makes for an IEM which kind of sounds V-shaped instead of being this more kind of neutral-ish kind of feel. I mean, because everything on the SR7 stays within 73 to 8 dB, so you can't really consider this not neutral-ish sound or style of sound. You can't. That's it, SR7. Next one, the SoundRhyme, the DTE 500 Tribrid. I mean, I think it speaks for itself in terms of upper mids and treble. No comparison possible, although the graph doesn't seem like there's a big difference, but there's no comparison, trust me. It is superior. It just sounds a little bit thin in the bass, and the bass of the Aurora, in that aspect, it sounds more present. It's got a bit more weight. Okay. Next one, the Penon, the 10th anniversary. Another IEM that, its graph and what it sounds like are two different things. You do not notice this bloat of the bass, but it is very noticeable that it does have more mid-bass slam than the Aurora. The Aurora ultimately has a little bit more low bass extension. You do notice as well this slight forwardness of the vocals, and you do notice definitely that it's got more upper mids and treble, but not in an unpolished manner or anything of the sort. I mean, the 10th anniversary is not one of my favorite IEMs for being one of my favorite IEMs. In this particular case, it's all down to, you want a more audiophile sound, or do you want a more fun and engaging sound while keeping a very high level of audiophilia? Let's put it that way. That's what will make your your decision. All right. Next one, number 15, the Hisenior Mega5EST. I mean, the graph again speaks for itself. In this case, the bass is every bit as present and as alive as on the Aurora. The mids, as I said, sound slightly recessed, but then made up by upper mids and treble energy, which just, you know, give it a very nice, very nice, detailed, captivating sound. Okay, you could argue maybe, okay, it will end up being a little bit more fatiguing in the long run, but honestly, I really feel that the Hisenior is good. They will, at the end of the day, the Mega5EST Mark II and the DT500, they kind of trade blows with the Aurora, and it's down to the price that will be, in my opinion, the decision making point. 16. Oh yes, the Dunu SA6MK2 bass switch off. I mean, the graph speaks for itself, honestly, guys. Treble extension, mids are faultless. It's a better IEM. End of story. With all due respect to all the people that have got the Aurora and that like the Aurora, the SA6MK2 is a better IEM, and it's cheaper. Number 18. Number 18. The Aful Performer 8 and the EPZ. Those two are missing. The Aful Performer 8. Another IEM, again, very similar in the graph. I mean, very, very similar. Bass, a little bit less bass weight than the Aurora, okay? But then what you get from it in terms of the mids and that balance between what the bass that is present and the mids, upper mids, and the treble and the fade, and yes, there is definitely more extension. It's just another. It's again an IEM that for me is superior. It's just superior. It just is overall more complete than the Aurora, while maintaining again a very high level of I mean, you want flat, this is flat, 74 to 80, just over 6.5 dBs. I mean, I don't know how neutral that can be, or how more neutral it can get than that, rather. And then finally the EPZ, the 530. The EPZ 530, again, it's got one of those graphs that, what was going on here. Don't forget, this is BA bass, so it's not like this bloaty like if it was a DD. And then the extension up top is just ridiculous. Upper mids and treble, it's just insane. I mean, honestly, EPZ 530, it's a hidden gem. Without a question, the EPZ 530 is a hidden gem. EPZ 530, if I have to look at the IEMs in this list here, which are the IEMs that like really stand out as being truly unusual, truly spectacular, EPZ 530 would take that price without a question, because it's just, you don't expect it. Okay. Anyway, guys, this has been my take on the Aurora. As I mentioned in the review, this is an IEM which is kind of like the Alita. Actually, I can just quickly show you the graph of the Alita before I leave you. This has been a very long review, but I mean, it deserves it. It is an IEM that deserves to be given its proper prime time, let's put it that way. This is the Alita. Okay, and now let's normalize this at 500 Hz as well. And that's it. I mean, guys, it says it all. Okay, this is about being chilled out, relaxed, and that's what the Aurora is. It's chilled out, relaxed, very mellow. Kick back and listen to some jazz, some relaxing music. Okay, anyway, guys, I'm gonna leave you now. As always, like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed my review. I know it's long, but I want it to be thorough and complete. I'll see you in the next one. You take care now. Bye bye.